Hey you guys, it's Amy Gretchen. Welcome back. In this Project Life Process video, I'm gonna be working on week 11 from 2018. And the supplies I'm gonna be using, or the products I'm gonna use, are gonna come from Ali Edwards' Story Kit Home. I think this is a fabulous theme. There are so many stories that you are able to tell with this theme, and I am so excited to be able to use these products for doing a weekly spread in my Project Life. But there's so many other stories that can be told. In fact, you guys, I was getting teary just going through some of the supplies, reading the quotes, and just thinking about the stories I would tell from this week, because home definitely has a very special place for me. I'm here so often. My work is at my home. My kids come home. We gather at our home. There's just so many things that I love about what home represents to me. So I did try and pick photos from the home this week. I think I do that most times because, like I mentioned, I'm home a lot. But intentionally, I was thinking about what stories I would tell this week about our home specifically. So that's kind of why I've got more home type photos. I'm also thinking of, I was thinking about maybe making this card into a 3x4 card, but because I have this quote, I'm not sure. I think I will use one or the other, not both. And I could definitely use either or in a different spread. I want to be able to use everything I can from this kit because there's so much good stuff. This card right here, I actually made from Ali Edwards' marketing card, which is, this is her marketing card. And because I get this story kit and I also get the story stamp, then I get this, everything, all of it in digital form, and I love getting all the digital files. So I was able to take this marketing card and create it with my own photo, and I will just jump to my computer and show you how I did that. All right, so in my attempt to be better about sharing how I actually am doing stuff on my computer with some of the digital files, I'm going to share that with you guys today. So I'm actually in Photoshop. You could do this in Photoshop Elements as well, and I imagine you can do this in other other programs. So this is how I know how to do it. So I have got open up the photo that I want to use, and then I've got the marketing card from Ali Edwards. This came in her digital files for her Story Kit Home. And I'm going to come over here and click on the magic wand. And what I want to do is I want to start selecting the type, because that is what I want to copy so that I can paste onto my photo. So I'm going to click on where the white is. So I don't want to click out here. You can see that it's grabbing pieces of the photo. I just want to do it right on the white. And what's really great about this, if it's like a type that's white or black, it's going to select it really well, opposed to maybe something that's a different color or that's a little bit closer of a color to the background. It's a little bit harder to select. So I've got the two selected, and now I'm going to click, or I'm just going to hold down my shift button, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to click on every word, and whatever is connected to the white that I'm clicking on, it's going to have these marching ants. And I'm just going to show you, if I end up clicking on out here and you can see that I totally messed up everything that I was just doing, I'm just going to hit Control or Command Z, depending on which computer you're using, and then I will just continue to go. So if you need to go back or undo, you can totally do that. So I'm just going to continue on, and one thing you want to make sure that you get is these little, like here's the period, here is the comma. You want to make sure and get the tittle on the I, things like that. And then just go. This is actually a pretty easy one because most of these words were all connected. I've done it before where it's print, so none of the letters are connected. So now that I have it like this, there's many ways that you can do it, transfer it, but I think the easiest way is just to hit Control or Command C. So I am going to copy all that I selected, and then I'm going to go back to my photo. I'm going to make sure I've got my selection tool, or I guess this is the move tool, and I'm going to hit Control or Command V, and this showed up for me. that's saying, do I want to convert the colors? I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And now you can see that I've got what I had copied from over here now into this photo. The reason why it looks a lot smaller in the photo is because you can see at the top here, this photo is actually 13, little over, 13.5 inches long. So it's not a 4x6. If this was a 4x6, it would be a lot bigger. So if I want to make this bigger, I want to make sure over here in the layers palette that I've got the quote selected. I'm going to hit Control Command T, and it's going to highlight, it's going to put a bounding box, I guess, around that quote. And then I'm just going to hit Shift. Now, I believe if you are on Photoshop Elements, you don't have to hit Shift or hold down Shift. I'm going to hold down Shift and just drag, and then it's going to keep my proportions. When I'm done there, I'm going to hit Enter. I've got the Move tool, so I'm just going to move it into place, and you can put it wherever you would like, and this is probably where I will adjust it here. So thinking of adding this right into my album this way, or this is going to be my title card. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I just wanted you guys to know that's how you take the marketing card and put it onto one of your own photos. So you can see how easy it was to take this file from the digital and then put it onto my own photo. So I may move this over here and print out another photo. I think I have another one I could use. I'm just gonna, see how it goes. You can see that I've picked out 4 or 5, I think it's 5 cards that I liked, have some photos. May make another one with some of the stamps, I'm not sure, or even some of these chipboards. So I just want to go ahead and get started and just kind of see where this ends up. All right, guys, so just jumping right into this layout. Since I have my photos down, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up my 3x4 photos. So I print them this way right from Lightroom. And if you are interested to see how I do that so that you can cut it right in half and have white borders all around your 3x4 photos, I will have I will have a video linked below. I do have a video showing you how to do that in Lightroom and also in Photoshop. So since I have my photos down and I've chosen the cards that I want to use, really the next thing that I'm thinking about is how I want to embellish this layout and really how I want to best utilize this kit. So I was looking at the stamp set, and there were 3 stamps that were designed very similar, and they were just really great sentiments. One says stories of home, the other around the house, and then life at home. And the thing that kind of stood out to me was they were on the small side. Obviously you can see that. But on the first and the last word, they were sans serif and they are capitalized. And then the middle is, it's small and it's italicized. So I just really loved the way they were designed and the way they looked. So I thought that it would be really fun to repeat stamp these because they were all very similar. And so I chose 3 photos, or I'm choosing 3 photos that I want to use. And then I'm just going to repeat stamp. So the best way I know how to repeat stamp is to use the Misti tool. So that's what you can see me doing right now when I'm opening and closing this door. This is the Misti tool, and a lot of card makers use it, and it's really great for repeat stamping because number one, especially with white ink on a photo, I don't always feel like it stamps really great the first time. So you want to always stamp it twice. And so the Misti allows you to be able to stamp it in the same spot every time, which is really awesome. And then also you can see when I put down the stamp, instead of having to take the stamp back off and measure it, all I need to do is move the photo up and then I can just stamp it one more time. So it is a perfect tool for this. So if you think that this might be something you are interested in, you can see a link down below. There's a larger size, which I have. They have a smaller size as well. And they're just awesome, especially if you like to do a lot of stamping. This is definitely a tool that you will want to invest in because it definitely is an investment. So you can see that I'm just kind of moving. Sorry, my head keeps bobbing in and out in the way. I know that's so obnoxious, but I just kind of wanted to show you how I was moving that photo up and down to try and get it in the right placement. Now, I don't get it in the perfect placement every time, and I don't think it's that big of a deal. In fact, I find it kind of works to its charm a little bit, actually. So one thing that I wanted to mention there is my StazOn ink, that black StazOn ink that I tried to use first. It did not stamp very well. It's dry. I have no idea how it's dry because I've only used it a handful of times. So that's the one issue that I have with StazOn ink, is it dries really quickly. So if you get it, probably want to think about getting a re-inker at the same time. But it is a great stamp for photos, especially slick surfaces. So I find it invaluable, but it does kind of drive me crazy that it dries up so quickly. So that's just something to think about, maybe getting a re-inker when you buy that stamp, that ink. But what I ended up using was my black VersaFine ink, and it worked out really great. So you can see that I kind of put that photo to the side, and I decided not to stamp it right away because I was thinking of adding an embellishment to some of these stamps just to add a little something more to the actual photo. And you saw that I added the heart. So I wanted to make sure if I was going to add that embellishment to all of them, that I made sure and stamped it, at least started my stamping in the right place so I had room to put the chipboard above the stamping. One more thing I wanted to mention before I move on with the stamping. A few weeks ago, I actually stamped on a photo using the Misti, and I put down the stamp right onto the photo. And when I pulled it off, it was so sticky, it actually ripped off some of my photo. So in order to keep me from doing that again, I used that grid, that plastic grid that you saw me put on top of the photos. That came from Simon Says Stamp. And it helped me to not only protect my photo, but also that I was able to get that sentiment straight onto the photo exactly how I wanted it. So that's a great tool to have when it comes with the Misti, but that's also something that you could probably just make yourself by creating a grid with maybe like a Sharpie or something like that. Lots of different ways you could do that. So now that I've got all this stamping done, I've moved on to doing a few more embellishments. So these banners or flags, however you want to look at it, I thought that they had a lot of great sentiments on there, literally could be used for so many different photos. So I am going to put them on several photos, definitely the ones that don't have the stamping or the hearts on there. I thought that I would end up using that embellishment instead. So I just kind of swapped back and forth. You will be able to see that there. And then at some point I end up using the stapler. I don't know if I do that now or if I do that later. Also, I wanted to mention when I'm putting on my chipboard, most of the time when I'm putting on a small embellishment and I want to get it in a very specific spot, I use tweezers because I feel like my hand gets in the way. So it's just kind of an extension of my hand there. So I can see exactly where to put that embellishment. And then like I mentioned, I'm just going to go ahead and staple everything down. I just wanted a little bit of added texture to the page, and I thought that that would really help there. And the other thing I wanted to mention is the reason why I keep kind of pushing down the staples in the back is because that chipboard is just a little too thick and it's poking straight out. So I wanted to push down the prongs just so it doesn't wreck the photos on the back side and also the page protectors. So that's the reason why I'm doing that there. Now, sometimes when I'm stapling a chipboard, it doesn't do that, and sometimes it does. So I just really never know what I'm going to get. So I always just try and push them down. All right, so I'm working on one of the design cards, the one that says "Let's Stay Home," and I wanted to add that little house. I thought those plastic houses were a lot of fun. And I didn't really think about it at the time because I wanted it to be popped up and be a little dimensional, but they were transparent so you can see through and you can definitely see those pop dots, which I did not love. So I was considering maybe doing something else, maybe putting like a white piece of paper underneath it. But ultimately, I do decide just to take the pop dots off. So you'll see that, or the foam dots, however you want to look at it. You'll see that coming up in just a minute. Right now, I'm working on the title card, and hindsight, I wish I had, stamped those dates a little bit farther apart, because I thought, a little too late, that it would be great to add one of the hearts to that card, just again to add something to the photo, a little dimension. I ultimately picked out the smallest heart there was, and I decided that it was going to cover up the 18 in the 2018, and I was fine with that, because there was already a 2018 in the other stamp, and it's clear and obvious that it's the same year. So I didn't mind that it was covering that up, but just wanted to let you guys be aware of that. I don't think I end up stapling it down either, which I guess I probably could, but I thought it was so small, I just decided to leave it there. All right, so I'm moving on and telling some stories now. I decided that I've done some embellishing, and now it's time to move on to the stories. I love this story card that had the 5 senses. That was one of the things that I thought was a lot of fun with this kit, is there was a lot of story prompts here that was fun to tell in terms of your home. So the 5 senses there, I just told like 2 or 3 things about, what the house smells like, feels like, tastes like, things like that, stuff that we love around here. And then this card here, the story of this room, I thought this was another really great story prompt as well. So I really liked that one. That one was all about our kitchen and how it's definitely a gathering place. So I am moving on to this card that says, "Let's stay home," which I actually really love this card. I love when there are cards like this that repeat. And I hadn't even thought about it until now that I actually mimicked that in my stamping this week on the photo, where I had multiple phrases stamped onto those photos. So I thought that that was really cool that I repeated that. It didn't occur to me until now. So the reason why I was pulling over some of the other houses, and I'm looking at the chipboard and considering if I want to add something different to this card, because when I pulled off the pop dots, it actually made, like, it pulled off some of the color on the back, and there's like a white dot, and it actually really drives me crazy. So I was thinking of changing it, but ultimately I decided to leave it, and you'll see in the end that what I end up doing is I just put a staple right, kind of try and put it right where that white mark is, so you can't really see it that well. All right, for this Love Lives Here, I really love the card. I loved the pop of pink, and I am thinking I want to add something to it. So you can see that I was thinking about adding a heart, which I actually really liked. I didn't like it at the time, but I liked it now. I don't end up using that card. I was thinking about putting a stamp at the bottom as well, but I didn't think that there was a sentiment that was small enough, one of the smaller ones that would really go with it. So I decided to not use that card in the end and do something a little bit different. And now you can see that I've gone back to this card, and that I just added a little bit of adhesive so it would help me get it stapled on just right. And then I just tried, like I said, to staple it right in that perfect spot there. One thing that I did want to mention about the stories that I told this week. So the story that I told with that welcome home card, I just kind of bypassed that really quickly. But I also told a lot about how when my kids come home from school, we gather in the kitchen. And I felt like it was a lot about what I wrote in that card, the story of this room. So I think I'm actually going to redo that card, either reprint it because I have the digital file, or there is a stamp that looks just like it, and just stamp it again and redo it and tell the story of a different room in the house, because I felt like I kind of told 2 very similar stories about the kitchen and about that room in our house. So I think I might change that one up. All right, so I decided to make my own card here using one of the stamps. This is the Home Away from Home stamp, instead of using that Love Lives Here. Like I said, I actually really did like it. But you know what? If I can tell more stories, that's my goal. So my goal for this is as many stories as I can tell and as many photos as I can get in. I love the designer cards. I think that they have a place. I think that it actually really helps your eye to like have some breaks from like all the stories and all the writing. But if I can tell more stories, that's what I want to do. And so that's what I decided to do here. I also just wanted to mention that Home Away from Home actually did stamp great. It's just that the stamp itself is a little textured and a little distressed. And that's why it looks like maybe it didn't stamp 100%. It actually did. And I went ahead and I used some of Ali Edwards ink. I will have it linked below because I can't remember the exact name, but it is the blue one. And that story, I ended up telling the story of my daughter dancing, because that is definitely a home away from home for her. She spends a lot of time at the studio during the week. So I just told a little bit about her dancing and what she has been up to with that. And then because that was the only photo that didn't have an embellishment, I wanted to just add a little embellishment there. Anyway, you guys, I am completely done with this spread. So I hope you're able to get some inspiration from this. One thing that I did want to mention, so I didn't confuse any of you, those heart embellishments that I was using actually came from Ali Edwards for the Love Story kit. So I just want to confuse you when you got the home kit that those are not inside, that actually came from a different kit, but I just wanted to be able to use some small embellishments. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Always appreciate you supporting my channel. Hope that you have a fun time working with the story kit home. It is an awesome one. We will see you in the next one. Bye.